The U.S. Geological Survey says Hawaii's Kilauea began erupting again.
Alert level for residents near Kilauea volcano. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Rich Yelago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
Philippine unemployment rate declines to 4. Marcos administration adjourns again with no speaker set to perform in Philippine arena this year.
The Philippine unemployment rate eased to 4.2% last November 2022. The Philippine Statistics Authority said it was the lowest unemployment rate since April of 2005. More details from Randy Bernardino.
The number of jobless Filipinos declined in November 2022 to 2.18 million or 4.2%, lower than the 2.24 million jobless in October 2022. The Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, also reported an increase in the number of employed Filipinos based on its latest labor force survey. National statistician Dennis Mapa says the annual unemployment average from January to November 2022 is 5.5%. The average is near the pre-pandemic level of 5.1% in 2019. PSA data showed the top industries with the largest employment increase on public administration and defense and compulsory security. MAPA added that the increase is due to the lifting of restrictions and health protocols in all economic activities despite the threat of COVID-19. The number of employed Filipinos reached 49.71 million in November compared to 47.11 million in October 2022. However, under 6 million from 14.
Dito even sa klase ng mga enterprises. So bumabalik sila, tumutulong dahil marami ngayong economic activities. Hindi natin ito nakita ngayong taon lang, nakikita natin ito in the past. Talagang pag October, November, December, usually mataas yung ating labor force participation at saka employment rate. Kung yung labor force participation rate, itong mga past 5 survey rounds, July, August, September, October, November, bumalik na tayo dun sa
National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, said the dynamic labor force signifies the steady recovery of the country's economy. Balisacan said he sees a more dynamic labor market as flexible work arrangements and digitalization provide easier access to employment opportunities for Filipinos. They can attend to other essential tasks, such as parenting and pursuing higher education, among others. Randy Bernardino from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says more jobs await Filipinos following the investment pledges he secured from his China state visit. Eden Santos reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. President made a statement following reports from the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, that the number of jobless Filipinos eased in November 2022. The president secured more than $22 billion worth of investment pledges from Chinese investors.
Oh, wow. Yung today lang siguro, at the very least, close to. Kasi each operation, 10,000 jobs, 30,000 jobs, ganun ang kanilang pinag-uusapan. Kaya mahirap mag-estimate, but it is certainly going to produce many jobs. But when the investments come into play, when they start their operations, mag-uumpisa pa yan sa training.
And Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is not worried with the 8.1% inflation rate last December 2022. President Marcos told reporters that the increase is just 0.1% from the 8% recorded in November 2022. The country's December inflation rate is the highest since the global financial crisis in 2008.
Well, at least 8.1, nag-increase lang ng 0.1, and the rate of increase is slowing. It's still agricultural products. 38% of the inflation is now, 11% is fuel, 38% is agricultural products pa rin.
The president said the government should focus on the problems of agriculture and petroleum products. Marcos sees this as the reason behind the rising inflation, as well as importation that contributes to the increase in the prices of commodities.
Kaya kailangan talagang ayusin yung production natin. Kasi import tayo ng import. So yung inflation doon sa ini-importan natin, nadadala dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya we have to improve our production, we have to improve all of that. Kaya naman talagang central ang agriculture sa lahat. Central. 38% of the inflation comes from the agricultural products. We talk about fuel, 11% ang fuel. So yun ang dalawa talaga na kailangan nating tutukan.
Eden Santos for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
UK-based think tank Pantheon Macroeconomics says Philippine inflation in December of 2022 eased after hitting a 14-year high in November. Chief economist for Emerging Asia, Miguel Chanco, states December's inflation rate is a below consensus of 7.5%. Chanco's estimate is below the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' outlook of 7.8 to 8.6% for December, as well as most economists' projections. He asserts his forecast is in view of the clear decline in fuel prices toward the end of last year. Chanco explains the forecast is supported by the unwinding of weather-related issues that affected food prices in October and November.
The Philippines is on a watch-and-wait mode on proposals to impose stricter travel requirements to inbound travelers from China. In a news conference with Philippine media before returning to Manila, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the problem is the management of COVID in China. The president was asked if the Philippines should hold off entry of travelers from China for allegedly underreporting its daily COVID-19 cases. Marcos said Chinese nationals could not immediately travel outside the country, and so the Philippines would be on a watch-and-wait mode. Before the president's state visit to China, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo said at least 22 personnel from the Philippine Embassy in China contracted the virus, but they already recovered from the illness. When asked if the country should impose restrictions on travelers from China, President Marcos said it would be based on science. Meanwhile, the Office of the Press Secretary reported that no members of the Philippine delegation who accompanied the president in his state visit have tested positive for COVID-19.
Former Health Secretary and House Deputy Majority Leader Janet Garin says the government should seriously study proposals to reimpose the mandatory COVID-19 test for inbound travelers from China. Garin, who is also a representative of Iloilo City, made the suggestion to the Department of Health and the Interagency Task Force after 8 Filipino travelers from China tested positive for the virus. The lawmaker said any restrictions that would be imposed should be based on scientific study and not just a bandwagon reaction to other countries. Garin said restrictions would affect efforts to encourage tourist arrivals and possible investors in the country. She suggested the government should consult with the World Health Organization and the Chinese embassy regarding the current COVID situation in China. China says 95% of its population is fully vaccinated, although there are variant concerns with the Asian country's recent COVID surge.
The Department of Agriculture, or DA, has temporarily banned the importation of chicken and other poultry products from 8 countries affected by the avian influenza outbreak. These countries are Chinese Taipei, Ecuador, Moldova, Peru, Czech Republic, Denmark, Ireland, and Poland. The temporary ban is for domestic and wild birds, poultry, meat, day-old chicks, and sperm. The DA ordered the immediate suspension of processing, application, evaluation, and issuance of sanitary and phytosanitary import clearance of the banned products. The DA directed the confiscation of all shipments from the banned countries. DA Senior Undersecretary Domingo Panganiban said the entry of avian influenza in the country should be prevented to protect the safety of the local poultry population.
Lawmakers vow to file legislation that would crush and end the cartel and smuggling of agricultural products in the country. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman and Bicol Representative Joey Salceda said the cartel and smugglers control the supplies of onion, meat, fish, sugar, and other primary agricultural products. For 2023, Salceda vowed that his committee would investigate such illegal activities to create effective legislation and policies to end the cartel and smuggling operations. Salceda said high prices of agricultural products caused the skyrocketing of inflation rates last December 2022 at 8.1%. House Bill 5724 is pending approval in the lower chamber included. It will amend Republic Act 10845 or the Anti-Agricultural Smuggling Act of 2016. It will impose stricter penalties on government officials involved in smuggling activities.
The Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Response, or HADR units of the Philippine Army are tasked to assist various communities in Metro Manila and other parts of Eastern Visayas. These areas have been affected by torrential rains caused by a low-pressure area, or LPA. Army spokesperson Colonel Cerces Trinidad said the 525th Engineering Combat Battalion and the 51st Engineering Brigade of 2 light urban search and rescue teams will be deployed in flood-prone areas in Metro Manila, armed with life-saving devices and vehicles. Trinidad said the Army is coordinating with local government units, or LGUs, that need assistance. Meanwhile, the Eastern Visayas-based 802nd Infantry Brigade and the 8th Infantry Division are on standby to be disaster teams. Coming up, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. prepares for trips to Switzerland and Japan. Ukraine rejects Russia's proposal for a 36-hour ceasefire. And Moscow warns of retaliation if Germany seizes Russian assets. Mata ng Agila International. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
We've met some of the promising business persons and brands for 2023. Now, here's a rundown of the 4th Philippine Faces of Success and the 4th Philippines Best Quality Brands 2023. It's not just all glitter during the night, but a look into how these personalities manage to shine and win in life and business.
Masaya ako kasi finally nag-open up na ulit, meron na ulit tayong mga events. And of course, gusto ko magpasalamat kasi iba din pala talaga yung feeling ng nabigyan kang award for being successful in your own career.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m. This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart, Arlex Trading and Construction Supplies.
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. After a series of price hikes on petroleum products, an oil price rollback can be expected next week. Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau Director Rino Abad says all petroleum products like diesel, kerosene, and gasoline are expected to drop in prices. Based on oil trading over the past 4 days, an oil industry source says the rollback ranges from 2 pesos and 10 centavos to 2 pesos and 40 centavos for every liter of diesel. Meanwhile, the price of gasoline can drop from 20 centavos to 50 centavos per liter. The announcement of the oil price rollback is set to be announced or is set on Monday.
In Uganda, authorities report 16 deaths and 21 injuries in a midnight accident at Kamdini on the Kampala-Gulu highway. Police say 12 victims died on the spot, while 4 others succumbed to heavy injuries at a nearby hospital. Others are in critical condition for treatment. Initial findings say the victims' bus rammed into a stationary trailer at a Debe trading center. Uganda has witnessed an increase in the number of road crash reports. Traffic police revealed that 104 road crashes were registered around the country in just 3 days between December 30, 2022 and January 1 of this year.
5 days after the New Year airspace shutdown, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. inspects the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3. The technical glitch resulted in the cancellation of hundreds of domestic and international flights, leaving thousands of passengers stranded. The president said the government assured that assistance would be or was provided to affected passengers. Marcos apologized to those affected by the incident and assured that it will not happen again.
So now, I'm sorry, of course, we have to apologize to our kababayans who, especially those who came from abroad. Dahil limitado ang kanilang bakasyon, nawala yung 2-3 araw eh. Kaya kami humihingi ng inyong paumanhin. At ngunit gagawin namin ang lahat na hindi na maulit ito.
Marcos was joined by Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista, General Manager Cesar Chiong of the Manila International Airport Authority or MIAA, and Director General Captain Manuel Antonio Tamayo of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines.
After his successful 3-day state visit in China, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is scheduled to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland this January. Then he'll visit Japan in February. Vin Pasqua has the details.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is now preparing for his trip to Davos, Switzerland to attend the World Economic Forum. The president is set to leave the country on January 15 up to January 20, 2023. After his Davos trip, President Marcos will visit Japan in the second week of February this year. The president said Prime Minister Fumio Kishida personally invited him to visit Japan.
Immediately when I met with the Prime Minister Kishida in New York, and he invited me to come to Japan, I immediately accepted. And so we are now talking to the Japanese authorities as to the Japanese Foreign Service as to when would be the most suitable time for me to come. I have a trip to later this month to Davos, and Japan maybe will be the next one after that. So I think the tentative date is around the second week of February right now.
For his Japan trip, the president said part of his agenda will be economic security.
Japanese have many concerns about regional security, and we are seen, of course, the Philippines is seen as an important part of maintaining that security in partnership with friends and partners like Japan and the other countries around the Indo-Pacific, Asia-Pacific region. And economic security comes from the term actually it comes from the Japanese Prime Minister when he says that when we generally talk about things like aid grants, which is what we usually start off with when we are talking with our Japanese counterparts. The subject of security also came up. And the two things are interconnected in as conceived by the Japanese Prime Minister. So I think that is where the discussions will center.
Then Pasqua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Las Piñas Regional Trial Court has acquitted the son of Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla in his drug case. In a 34-page decision by Las Piñas City RTC Branch 197, acting presiding judge Ricardo Moldes II said the illegal possession of drugs against Juanito Jose Remulla III was dismissed because of reasonable doubt. Juanito Jose was arrested by PIDEA and the NAIA Interagency Drug Interdiction Task Force. They confiscated 900 grams of high-grade marijuana worth an estimated amount of 1.3 million pesos at a controlled delivery last October 11, 2022 at Las Piñas City. Judge Moldes said the prosecution had no evidence that the accused had knowledge that marijuana was in the delivery. The acceptance of the accused of the delivery was also not evidence that he was involved in illegal activities. The judge also questioned the drug's chain of custody or how the parcel was handled and preserved when it arrived in the country last September 2022. The ruling emphasized the glaring lapses and irregularity on the part of authorities. The court ordered the release of Juanito Jose from the Las Piñas City Jail, where he was detained. When asked for his reaction to the dismissal of his son's case, Secretary Remulla refused to comment. A separate complaint of illegal drugs importation was also filed against the young Remulla before the prosecutor's office in Pasay City.
In other news, the U.S. House of Representatives has made history. After 3 days and 11 votes later, the House still has no speaker. This marks the most ballots cast in deciding the Speaker of the House since before the Civil War. No speakership contest has gone more than 9 rounds since the Civil War era until yesterday. The lower chamber of the U.S. Congress adjourns again without a clear way to resolve the stalemate. Party leader Kevin McCarthy fails to convince Republican holdouts to throw their support for him. The House is scheduled to convene Friday at noon Washington time.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected Russian President Vladimir Putin's 36-hour ceasefire. Zelensky insists there will be no truce until Putin removes Russia's invading forces from the occupied land. The Kremlin said Putin had ordered his defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, to introduce a ceasefire along the entire line of contact in Ukraine from midday on Friday to midnight on Saturday. Putin called on Zelensky to also declare a truce and allow people to celebrate the holidays. But Zelensky claims Putin only made the announcement to stop Ukrainian advances in the eastern Donbas region and mobilize more men. Meanwhile, British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly tweets, the ceasefire will do nothing to advance the prospects for peace. U.S. President Joe Biden, on the other hand, believes Putin is trying to find some oxygen by floating the idea.
I'm reluctant to respond to anything Putin says. I found it interesting. He was ready to bomb hospitals and nurseries and churches and on the 25th and New Year's, and I mean, you know, I think he's trying to find some oxygen. Thank you so much.
Russia's Speaker of the State Duma, Vyacheslav Volodin, warns Germany of retaliation if it seizes Russian funds and property and transfers them to Ukraine. Volodin says Berlin may create a dangerous precedent in international law. He insists Germany should not ignore international law unless it wants other countries to follow suit. Volodin says states may ignore the law and take what they see fit at their own discretion. But he notes Germany should remember from their own country's history how attempts to encroach on someone else's property ended. Earlier this week, Germany said it is open to using billions of euros in frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine rebuild as long as legal issues can be resolved and allies follow suit.
Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has inspected troops at an army barracks ahead of the Lunar New Year. She observed an exercise by the infantry repelling a mock attack by enemy forces. The president thanked the dedication of Air Force soldiers and conveyed her support for all military troops. Tsai reminded that the Chinese Communist Party maintains its military activities. She added that military troops need to strengthen defense capabilities and resilience to ensure the country's safety and interests. The president described the country's troops as determined and innovative. They are capable of safeguarding democracy and regional peace. She added that troops should always be on guard to protect the people, but must not forget to call their families in between their breaks. Tsai ended her speech by greeting a Happy New Year.
Palestine's ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, says the international community has to speak with one voice in rejecting extremism. Mansour says it is a toxic environment.
We will not be satisfied with beautiful statements which will be uttered tomorrow in the Security Council. We want them to be implemented in a concrete way. We want this behavior not to be repeated on Al-Aqsa Mosque and then Haram Sharif, and we want a guarantee of honoring and respecting the historic status quo in deeds, not only in words.
Israel's new far-right security minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, prompting international concern over a renewed flare-up in violence. The UN Security Council meets today to discuss Ben-Gvir's controversial visit.
A U.S. Geological Survey, or USGS, reports Hawaii's Kilauea has begun erupting again inside its summit crater. This is less than 1 month after its larger neighbor Mauna Loa volcano stopped releasing lava. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory says it detected a glow in webcam images showing Kilauea erupting inside Halemaumau crater at the volcano's summit caldera. Kilauea Summit is inside Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park and away from residential communities. Earlier, the USGS raised the alert level for Kilauea due to signs that magma was moving below the summit surface, a sign the volcano might erupt. Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes. It last erupted for 16 months, starting in September 2021. Scientists are studying the relationship between Hawaii's Kilauea and Mauna Loa and their effects on nearby communities.
Californians are keeping their eyes on the sky as the state braces for more storms that could cause flooding. This is how things looked earlier this week when central and northern parts of the state were walloped by a bomb cyclone that dumped torrents of rain on already soaked ground. On Thursday, flood watches were put in place over a swath of California. The storms so far have claimed at least 2 lives, including a young child whose home was hit by a tree. Many people were left in the dark after storms downed power lines. Up to 15 centimeters of rain is expected in some areas tomorrow. The weather this week is in contrast to what the state has been dealing with for several years. California and much of the western United States has been in the grip of a drought for more than 2 decades. And even though the recent deluge will help, it will take several years of above-average rainfall to alleviate the situation.
The Mexican government has made some gains in its ongoing war against drug cartels. Mexico's Defense Minister Luis Crescencio Sandoval announced Thursday that security forces captured the son of jailed drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Guzman had been the leader of the infamous Sinaloa cartel. His son Ovidio was picked up by authorities in the northeastern Mexican city of Culiacan. Sandoval says the arrest capped 6 months of intelligence work. The 32-year-old is believed to have helped run his father's operations after El Chapo was extradited and convicted in the U.S. Following the arrest, there was violence in the city. Vehicles were set on fire and there were several reports of gunfire. Government officials urged people to stay home as the unrest sparked panic among residents seeking shelter.
Up next, a U.S. man kills his family of 7 and then himself. UN rights chief is appalled by the stripping of women's rights. And Spanish police arrest more than 40 people suspected of exploiting migrants. Do stay tuned. Mata ng Agila International will bring you more global news.
Agapay, mayroon akong nais ibahagi sa inyo. Ito ang kwento ng Iglesia ni Cristo Eco Farm Projects. Isa sa malalakas na katuwang ng ating bansa sa usapang agrikultura. Alam ng pamamahala ng Iglesia ni Cristo ang malaking pangangailangan sa food security at ang kahirapang kinakaharap ng maraming mamamayan. Kaya, samahan niyo ako at sabay-sabay nating silipin, libutin at alamin kung paanong ang pagnanais sa pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan ay nagbunga ng libu-libong hanap buhay at kaunlaran sa iba't ibang lahi at komunidad. Ako po si Robin Padilla at ito po ang ulat, kaagapay sa hanap buhay.
This portion is brought to you by Source Alliance.
This evening, we have an update on the killings in Utah in the United States. Police say the gunman shot and killed his family of 7, then turned the gun on himself. Authorities in the small city of Enoch City found 8 bodies. One was a 4-year-old child. The cause of death for all victims appears to be gunshot wounds. The victims were the man's wife, the wife's mother, and the couple's 5 children aged between 4 and 17. Enoch Mayor Geoffrey Chestnut says the shooting came after an apparent marital breakdown. The wife filed a divorce petition on the 21st of December. An investigation into the multiple killings is underway. Police say they are not looking for anyone else in connection with the crime.
President Joe Biden says the U.S. will allow up to 30,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter the country by air every month. But he has a warning for undocumented migrants seeking entry to the U.S.
Do not just show up at the border. Stay where you are and apply legally from there. Starting today, if you don't apply through the legal process, you will not be eligible for this new parole program.
Calling the U.S. immigration system broken, Biden says he will visit the U.S.-Mexico border town of El Paso in Texas on Sunday. The visit comes on the eve of North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City.
6 women have begun an 8,000-kilometer journey across the Pacific Ocean on paddle boards. The women will travel from Peru to French Polynesia to raise funds for children with cancer. 5 of the women are French and the 6th is Spanish. They are coastal rescue experts. Each will take turns paddling for an average of 4 hours a day. During the trip, they will be accompanied by a first aid team in a catamaran where they will rest. The voyage The voyage was inspired by the Kon-Tiki, an iconic 20th century expedition undertaken in 1947. On that journey, a crew on a log raft tested the hypothesis that South Americans reached Polynesia in pre-Columbian times.
The head of human rights for the United Nations says he is appalled at the systemic efforts to strip women of their rights. Volker Turk says the most shocking moves are being made by the Taliban.
Afghanistan is the worst of the worst, and it's an expression that should all be, for everyone, in the global north and in the global south, a reminder of what perverted thinking can lead to. And I mean, to repress women in the way that it's happening is unparalleled.
He is disgusted by rampant misogynistic criticism online. He says 75 years after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, efforts to strip rights from women are increasing.
The mastermind of a sprawling U.S. college admissions scam was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. William Rick Singer bribed coaches and university administrators to admit the privileged children of his wealthy clients into prestigious American universities. Singer took home about $25 million and paid out $7 million in bribes during the decade-long scheme. He pleaded guilty in 2019. He cooperated with several authorities or federal authorities in their investigation, which was dubbed Operation Varsity Blues. More than 50 parents, coaches, and associates of Singer were ultimately convicted.
Aid groups say they have been pushed against a wall by the Taliban prohibiting Afghan women from working for nonprofit organizations or NGOs. The ban has left a dangerous gap in life-saving support. Afghanistan's NGOs have been instrumental in addressing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with half the country's population hungry and 3 million children at risk of malnutrition. A senior official at the International Rescue Committee, or IRC, says it is impossible for them to continue their activities if they don't have women as part of their organization at all levels. Some 1,260 NGOs operate across Afghanistan, with thousands of women workers providing services in healthcare, education, and water and sanitation. The IRC is one of the several NGOs that have suspended operations while they urge the Taliban to revoke the ban. The ban was one of two crushing orders released in rapid succession last month. Just days earlier, Taliban authorities banned women from university education. It has been a culmination of a slew of drip-fed restrictions on women's lives.
In Canada, the largest pediatric hospital has taken down 2 of its official websites after issues with cybersecurity. In Toronto, Joshua Santillana tells us more.
This week, Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children has intentionally taken down 2 of their official websites due to a cyber disruption. This is not the first time in the last month that sick kids experienced a cybersecurity incident. A few weeks back, the hospital had a systems failure, a code gray, affecting several of their network systems. This has caused delays in diagnostics, treatments, and lab results for some patients. It has also affected phone lines and staff payroll. The restoration has been ongoing since then. A ransomware group online offered a free decryptor to Sick Kids Hospital. However, the hospital is currently assessing the offer and as of Monday has not made a ransomware payment. As of January 1st, Sick Kids Hospital says that it has already restored 60% of its priority systems and restoration effects are progressing well. Sick Kids Hospital is Canada's largest pediatric hospital, taking in about 15,000 patient admissions on average and almost 13,000 healthcare professionals, scientists, volunteers, and research staff employed. Joshua Santillana, Toronto, Ontario. Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
News reports say Europe will face an energy crisis due to abnormally mild temperatures this January. Meteorologist Matthew Dross says if things unfold as expected, the first half of the month in Europe could be one of the warmest on record. Dross forecasts mild conditions are likely to persist in the UK throughout January, while temperatures in France and Germany are now 2 to 5 degrees Celsius above the climate norm. Dross adds the weather condition sends heating demand in Europe below the 10-year average. Meanwhile, the situation is different in Russia. A record thaw in Moscow will bring abnormal frosts, the harshest this winter. The cold frost comes on January 7, when temperatures at night will reach negative 30 degrees Celsius. Analysts warn this does not mean the energy crunch is over. As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues and sanctions on Moscow set in, the energy crisis spreads from Europe to the rest of the world.
In France, many restaurant owners say they can no longer afford to keep the lights on in their eateries. Owners say they are still recovering from the effects of the pandemic. Now they have to contend with a new crisis, soaring electricity bills. They say they need government help if their businesses are to survive. Some restaurants have already closed their doors, while others have cut business hours. Electricity isn't the only energy problem they face. Natural gas prices have risen, making it more expensive to prepare meals. Restaurant workers are on edge after their jobs will disappear, or afraid their jobs will disappear if energy prices continue to skyrocket.
Spanish police have arrested 43 people suspected of belonging to a gang that exploits undocumented migrant workers. Most of the migrants are from Morocco and work on farms. Gangs sold them false documents and charged more than $3,000 for fake work contracts. Police say some of the workers were housed in inhumane conditions. At least 7 agricultural firms are believed to have taken part in the scheme. Spain is a key gateway for illegal migration from Africa. Last year, more than 31,000 people entered the country illegally. Most of them came by boat from Morocco.
Scientists have discovered a new species of dwarf boa in the Ecuadorian Amazon and named it after an indigenous activist. The previously unknown snake is named Tropidophis cacuanguawe. It has a length of up to 20 centimeters long and a skin color similar to a boa constrictor. Researchers reported the 2 specimens were found in the Colonso Chalupas National Reserve and in the private Sumac Cauce Park. An Ecuadorian scientist at the National Biodiversity Institute says these snakes are a relic of time. Finding or bumping into one of them is a privilege. The species is unusual for having a vestigial pelvis, a characteristic of primitive snakes. It is evidence to support that hypothesis that snakes descended from lizards that lost their limbs over millions of years. The team's findings were published in the European Journal of Taxonomy.
Thousands of exhibitors and spectators are expected to show up at this year's Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Organizers say CES 2023 is back big time. To tell us more, Anna Cui is right where the action is. Anna, tell us more.
CES, otherwise known as the world's largest technology trade show, kicks off Thursday here at the Las Vegas Convention Center. According to CES organizer Consumer Technology Association, or CTA, this year's show has 2,800 confirmed exhibitors from around the world, up from 2,200 the previous year. Attendance is expected to reach 100,000 this year, more than double of that last year. With the easing of COVID travel restrictions worldwide, this year's event is looking more like normal, with more exhibitors and attendees filling up the show floors. According to CTA organizers, participation from Asia here at CES 2023 remains strong, particularly from Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. And with the recent change in their zero COVID policy, more Chinese companies are able to travel to the US and will have more exhibitors this year, according to CES list of exhibitors. It's worth noting that CTA requires attendees from China to provide a negative COVID test. The latest innovation in the auto industry, electronics, smart urban transportation, smart city, and the metaverse are just some of the features we see represented from the Asian region. South Korea's Hyundai Mobis unveils a new convergence technology optimized for purpose-built vehicle.
We have our vision eye sensor there. Now that houses our PMTS, or our pedestrian motion tracking sensor. You'll see these eye-safe lights are now guiding pedestrians around the vehicle so that they have safe passage. It's hard to hear, but it's also saying, please walk safely.
Japan's Panasonic, which was missed at CES 2022, is back this year, showcasing their commitment to transform the future through their ongoing innovations in line with their Green Impact Initiative, committing to reduce carbon emissions globally. From health tech to mobility and clean energy, there's definitely much more to see here at the largest consumer technology trade show. From CES 2023, Anna Cui, Las Vegas, Nevada. For Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Scientists have invented a robot that can heal itself after being repeatedly stabbed. At New York's Cornell University, a starfish-looking robot can sense incoming danger. It uses fiber optic sensors to see, and it is programmed to move away from its attackers. The robot's skin is made from a special polyurethane polymer that will spontaneously heal when exposed to air. Scientists say this new tech can be helpful for people who work in dangerous environments like self-healing spacesuits and parachutes. It will also enable longer-lasting, more durable robots for future warfare applications.
Coming up, Gazprom sets record in daily gas supplies to China. Lionel Messi says he will not participate in the upcoming French Cup. And Harry Styles set to perform in the Philippine Arena this year. More international news when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
UK new car sales fell to their lowest level in 30 years, despite 5 months of consecutive growth at the end of 2022. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders released the disappointing figures for 2022. From our UK bureau, here's Ryan Florentino.
Sales of new cars in Britain sank in 2022 to their lowest level in 3 decades, plagued by parts shortages and COVID-linked supply chain woes. The nation's mainly foreign-owned automakers sold a combined 1.61 million vehicles, the lowest since 1992, according to the data from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. That marked a 2.0% decline from 2021, when demand had already been blighted by COVID fallout and semiconductor shortages. Total new car registrations were meanwhile 1 quarter less than 2019, before the eruption of the deadly coronavirus crisis. Nevertheless, Britain managed to reclaim its position as Europe's second biggest market, behind Germany, after being overtaken by France in recent years. Many manufacturers faced with constrained supplies prioritize productions of zero-emission electric models. Britain is due to ban the sale of new high-polluting diesel and petrol cars from 2030, forcing its car manufacturing sector to switch production to electric vehicles. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I am Ryan Florentino for Matana Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Gazprom announced it has set new daily records in the first days of January for gas supplies through the power of a Siberia gas pipeline to China. Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller confirms the energy corporation exceeded its annual obligations on gas deliveries to China in 2022. On January 3, it exceeded its January 1 gas supplies records by 0.45%. Miller says in the coming years, Gazprom's total volume of gas exports to China will reach 48 billion cubic meters per year. He adds that including the transit pipeline through Mongolia, Gazprom supplies to China could reach almost 100 billion cubic meters per year. Russia's Gazprom has always looked for possible partnerships with oil firms in other parts of Asia. Back in 2019, the Philippines and Gazprom executives talked about bringing Russian fuel, oil, and lubricants to the country.
Sources say McDonald's will leave Kazakhstan due to meat supply disruptions just 6 years after its opening. The Central Asian country has no substitute for Russian meat supplies as a result of the conflict between Moscow and Kyiv. Kazakh businesses are not subject to Western sanctions, but McDonald's banned a local franchisee from procuring meat patties from Russian suppliers. Reports claim the Kazakh business could not source meat patties from local or European suppliers due to higher prices, freight costs, and transport supplies. Sourcing logistics across other nations would also put the business at a loss. The situation with McDonald's in Kazakhstan is also complicated by franchisee owner Kairat Boranbayev, who was detained in March on charges of embezzlement.
Argentina's captain Lionel Messi will not participate in the upcoming French Cup. His team Paris Saint-Germain will play without him at a tie-up with Minos Châteauroux on Friday. After winning the World Cup, Messi returned to France for training on Wednesday. PSG coach Christophe Galtier announced Messi won't play in the PSG French Cup. He adds that Messi could possibly play in the next league fixture on January 11. For the meantime, Galtier wants Messi to rest and spend time with his family. He hopes that Messi will be available for their next game.
Four Filipino celebrities have been recognized for their beautiful faces. Let's find out who they are in this report by Nadine Aguilar.
4 Filipino beauties and celebrities are listed in the 100 Most Beautiful Faces in 2022 by the critic website TC Candler. In the top 6 is actress and YouTuber Ivana Alawi. This is the third year Ivana has been on the list. Last year, she ranked 4th, and in 2020, she ranked 11th. At number 23 is Liza Soberano. It's her 8th year on the list. She was in the top 18 last year, and in 2017, she has the most beautiful face at number 1. At number 51 is TV host actress Janine Gutierrez, ranking on the list for the second time. And at number 80 is Filipino-American and TikTok sensation Bella Poarch. Meanwhile, singer-songwriter and former One Direction member Harry Styles received 7 nominations for the Grammy Awards this year. For his hit song As It Was, he has 4 nominations: Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Pop Solo Performance, and Best Music Video. For his third studio album, Harry's House, he has 3 nominations: Album of the Year, Best Pop Vocal Album, and Best Engineered Album Non-Classical. The 65th Annual Grammy Awards will be held on February 5. Many Filipino fans are also looking forward to Styles' comeback concert at the Philippine Arena on March 14, 2023. Nadine Aguilar, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A recent report by All About Cats says Taylor Swift's cat, Olivia Benson, has an estimated net worth of, listen to this, $97 million, making her the world's 3rd richest pet. Number 1 on the list is a German Shepherd named Gunther VI, worth an estimated $500 million. Second is an Instagram famous cat named Nala, who is worth a reported $100 million. The numbers are reportedly based on Instagram analytics. The report concludes Swift's cat has found success outside of the world of Instagram influencing. Olivia also earned her fortune starring alongside Swift in several music videos and big-budget ads. Swift's other fur babies, Meredith and Benjamin, did not make the richest pets list. I'm in awe. To help you start the weekend, here's a quote from Harlan Hamilton, an investor and the founder of Backstage Capital. I can't tell you how many times I've been given a no, only to find that a better, brighter, bigger yes was right around the corner.
I was doing this because you missed saying something.
Oh, yes! Friday!
Friday. Yes, it is Friday.
Just to remember, some opportunities, they come later in life. So if it feels like a rejection, maybe there's something better coming your way in the future.
And they say, when a door closes, a window opens.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I am CJ Hero.
And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores saying, have a great weekend, everyone. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.